Welcome, Tim, to the NFT Podcast. And where are you based and how are you?
I'm based in New York City, and I'm doing pretty good right now.
Very cool.
I slept last night. I usually don't sleep, so I'm wide awake.
Amazing. So, I'm very glad to run this podcast today with you because I know that we are going to talk about art in general because art is very important in this period. Art has always been important in whole our history, but especially now with NFTs, something is coming up more with art. So let's start with this. What
Yeah.
is art for you? Because you are an artist. So what's art for you?
W what is art for me? Okay, so that's a manifold question with a manifold answer, but I would say that it, it's expression, creativity, sharing of ideas. Um, there's so much that you really dropped a really difficult question here.
Yeah.
That's epistemologically art is so many varied things that it's tough to really get at the bedrock of what it is. But typically it's expression in any manifestation, whether it be cave painting to shooting yourself, if you want to call that art, to I'm thinking of somebody, and like conceptual art, or um, it needs to fit under this context of creativity to be construed as art also. So
Yeah.
it can't
Uh,
just be labeled art without it having some kind of overarching rubric in which to be deemed art.
yeah. I agree with you. Art is it's a tool like for our expression. It's the way we manifest ourselves, our thoughts, our inner selves. But it seems like that a lot of people maybe they don't consider themselves artists. They in some way express themselves. So do you think that we are whole artists, or maybe every kind of expression can be considered an art in this way? Because you mentioned like no
You're
no no
getting deep. Okay,
yeah
totally. Everybody intrinsically has an artistic brain or mind. A CEO, an accountant, they all have artistic traits in which creativity needs to be used to problem solve, to invent, to come up with new ideas to problem solve. So I'd have to say, who said everybody's an artist? I think Joseph Beuys said that we're all artists, and that's probably true. We all are artists in some way. So you don't necessarily have to go to graduate school to be an artist. You just have to have a beating heart.
yeah. And so did you graduate, or in any way do you think that art can be taught, or art is something that for you think? I don't think that art can be taught. I think that like every kind of art
Yeah.
is different, because if we are all artists and if we are all different, you cannot teach, but you can share. That's something powerful, like you can share.
Right. I mean, you could teach different skills in different mediums or genres. Like okay, this is a stretch. You could teach somebody to draw or paint, kind of. The individual has to be able to do that themselves without assistance, but you could be given guidance to do these things. But for the most part, I think it's something that's internal. I don't think it can be taught really. It could be gestured towards, but it can't be directly taught.
Yeah, yeah, and we
That's my
need.
answer. I
Yeah,
stand by it.
yeah. Yeah, I think that we all need to express this, and of course, we cannot just learn. We can learn like different kind of arts. We can learn history of art. We can learn
Hmm.
how to use tools. That's what can be taught from. So maybe the macro aspect of like what art is, what art, which artists we see in our world, and how we can take inspirations from them. But I'm in this island. I'm in Jersey, as I was telling you before, in the UK, and I decided that I wanted to meet a lot of artists here, just because it's
Good.
possible here to meet
Artists
people.
are awesome.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's I came here at the beginning to work in finance, but then I decided that there is so much finance in this island, so they don't really needed me. Maybe they need something else under their art perspective. So I started to meet a lot of artists here with my partner, and more and more artists I meet, and more different is their art, and more I see that that's something that I would have need to know before. And why? Because I always struggled with my career. So what can I do?
What
What
is your career? If you don't mind me asking, is that too personal for this podcast, or is that
absolutely not personal. I'm very happy to share
oh,
with my audience here. And so,
cool?
what's my career? There isn't a name in my career. It's a process. So it's a
Yeah.
process that started with digital marketing, because I dropped university because we didn't use computer. I studied economic at university. I decided that I started economic because I say, okay, it's very in the news. It's something that's very connected to the real world, all the economic trends. So it will be so important to study
Totally.
it. But I didn't really love what we were studying. It wasn't so actual as I was thinking. So we didn't have a lot of case studies. So I started an academy that is the Digital Combat Academy of Rome, an amazing academy. And here, I learned a lot about digital tools. This gave me the opportunity of work in an amazing tech startup. So, for me, working a startup with engineers, as I was the media guy. I started to express my creativity as I never made before, in the sense that
Hmm.
I was like the video maker, the photographer, the brand manager, the graphic designer. I started using like Premiere, Illustrator, Photoshop. I started to use social media. I started to manage press and PR. So I should
Wow.
say that from there, that give me the opportunity at just 21 years old, at the time I started with that, to be like horizontal, in the sense that okay, let me learn as much as I can in the communication and marketing world. And that's amazing, because that's exactly the behind the scene that I wanted to know about the world. Because at the beginning, my first passion, that was the one that let me drop out university, was cinema. I watched like thousands of films in my life, and
Cinema. Wow. Like
I always,
Fellini and
yeah, of course, also
yeah.
him, yeah. And I always wanted to be like a movie director. And so for me, like, starting with a GoPro was something very meaningful, in which I could train my skill for the first time. So I left like university to cinema, but then understand that it wasn't cinema really what I wanted. It was more the behind the scene world that there is behind the word itself. And communication, for me, it's powerful, because once you understand the news, once you understand how news and information works and move in this world, you really you really teach a lot about the world. So that I started this
Yeah.
communication and marketing like career with this background in cinema, and I then moved into the education industry, because I dropped school but I didn't want to forget about school. I always said that okay, I struggled with my with my teenage years, and I don't want that no
I
one.
did too. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't want that no one kid in this world will ever feel what I felt during my school years. So I will try to do something for the education uh, world, in especially in Italy, that is where I come from. So I joined an amazing company that works with children, works with pedagogy, is trying to really changes the spaces of the school. That is something that I really understood that was one of the main problems of school. So the fact that we are all inside in 20 children in the same class. If you think about the way that a classroom is disposed, you really understand that there is something not working. Like 20 children and one teacher, they are just listening to this without being an active part of it, and then don't really explore and experience the world behind it. I come from Rome, and Rome, talking about art, is a museum, is an open museum under the sky. So if we as
Yeah.
children, if we could like go every day around the city, we could have the opportunity of meeting a lot of people, a lot of jobs, and learn about it, not just from books. And then after this, like here on education, we did amazing projects during COVID. We also worked with the Italian government. Like we had some grants, we had some approvations, and like
Congrats. That's awesome.
I worked a lot to build like a digital identity, a brand identity um, for this company. Like, so maybe I consider myself in some way a brand manager. I love to build new brands. I love, of course, also building the brand of this podcast,
Yeah.
and like I documenting a lot. I brought once again my career of cinema into this into the job, because I documented a lot. Like we walked, we moved in the best schools in Italy, the most innovative schools in Italy, and I filmed a lot because storytelling was so important for education. Because really
Yeah.
people needed to see what was happening around there. So I documenting like more than 1,000 hours of documentaries, like in 1 year and a half about, and it was so powerful. Then, so I can like conclude why I'm here. I
Yeah.
read a book that is Rich Dad Poor Dad, and that's very an educational book about finance. And I
Oh
this
wait, what's it called?
Rich
Rich
Dad Poor
Dad
Dad, Rich Dad Poor
Poor
Dad.
Dad
Yeah,
by
that's
I forget his name. Yeah. Yeah.
Robert
Yeah. I know
Kiyosaki is
that's it.
the author, and like I think it's the first book that every person and everyone that want to start at ready to understand like how finance, how the financial system works, but not just that. Of course, needs to read. And then after that, I say, okay, I earned some money, my first money from my job during the past years, and I want to do something with that. I don't want like just to spend them with beers and pubs and travels. I want to start investing my money. And I say, okay. There was again the struggle. Say, okay, but what can I do in my life? Like, which job, which identity do I need? Can I
Yeah.
have? Can I have in this world? And that's of course what we are saying also before about the power of art as an expression and find yourself, your identity. And so I had this idea. I say, okay, if I become an investor, I can. I can study what I want, in the sense that I can just eat informations, in the just that I can be aware of what is happening in the world, because first of all, I'm curious. I want to learn everything about every industry, every market, every
It sounds like
cultural,
it.
yeah,
You're
every
you're like
cult.
Dr. Faustus.
Every amazing, yeah, like I say, okay, I'd like to know more about every cultural trend, social trends, political trend, economic trends. And if I become an investor, it
Hence
means,
NFTs. Yeah.
yes, it means that I can apply my knowledge in my job, because of course, if you're an investor, you invest in companies, in industries, in the countries that you believe that will be the one that will most grow in the next years. And so thanks to this, I start studying and studying a lot. I quit my job. I moved from Rome to Jersey, so I started living in a new country, and
You're
I start
saying Jersey, New
Jersey.
Jersey?
No, it's not New Jersey. It's Jersey, but they are like twins countries, like New Jersey,
Okay, okay,
twins places like New Jersey and Jersey. New Jersey
okay.
is in, of course, in America, and like Jersey
States,
is
yeah.
in, yes, is in UK. And here, like I keep studying like finance. Then I discovered a lot cryptocurrencies, so DeFi, decentralized finance. And then one day, like I discovered NFTs. I decided to that there wasn't so many resources around to discover more and learn more about NFTs. There weren't so many people around me that could explain it. And so, because I always learn with people, I always learn by, I think that my favorite school is like taking the telephone and like looking for people on LinkedIn, on Instagram, and call them and talk with them, and then say, okay,
Yeah.
I can mix all my curiosity, all my love in networking and meeting new people. I can also win my biggest fear, that is like showing my face and my story in public, and I can start a podcast all about NFTs, because I think that it will be an early move, and it will be rewarding, I hope, in the next years. And so here I am,
Yeah.
building my first podcast on YouTube. And so yeah, that's quite my career in a few words.
Cool.
That's my story. Thank you for asking
Yeah.
that.
Thank you for answering that. That was a very detailed answer. I was amazed. Wow. Okay. NFTs.
Yeah, let's start about this. Like, what do you think about NFTs? For you, that you are an artist, and we talk about maybe art in
Okay.
general. What do you think about NFTs?
Tentatively, I think NFTs are probably here to stay indefinitely uh, and overtake the old art system. That's a very extreme generalization and assessment of how I perceive NFTs, but I do think NFTs have created a new paradigm in which art can work within, kind of dismantling the old paradigm of like the gallery system. Uh, Artists have been craving autonomy for decades, and here's their chance. They could finally seize upon that. There's many the NFTs are very inchoate and they're very like infant stage right now. That will change in decades.
Yeah,
So what we're seeing now is just the tip of the iceberg. Is my opinion.
yeah. And so you say, like, artists always we're always striving and looking for autonomy. This is what you said, right?
Yeah, well, I think galleries, because they take 50% of income, that seems almost like highway robbery in some respects, because it's a lot, 50% of, your income to be taken away from you. I'm not necessarily saying that dealers are greedy or anything like that. I'm just saying that, can we be more equitable about this? Um, so,
Yeah,
uh,
yeah. Like, artists during history always struggled, but there is I don't know, like if you studied like art history, probably you studied more than me. I don't know what's your background, but it it's like interesting for me to understand like if there are patterns in history. So if there has been already in the past a moment, a period in which like artists felt themselves that were more free, like they are feeling today. And do you think that there is like a specific time in history, maybe Renaissance? Is that the period in which you think that like artists felt themselves more free?
Well, during the Renaissance, artists were kind of tied down to the Pope and to demands that the Pope or the whatever the religious authorities wanted them to create. So they had to work within this uh, atmosphere of kind of do what I want you to do. So commission work was, you know, uh, extremely common, if not the total norm. I'm trying to see historically artists have always kind of been screwed since Plato, like when he kicked the artists out in book 10, I believe. He basically said, artists, we don't want you in our culture, in our society. You have no purpose for us. You replicate the, what did he say? Something about replication and like you're not creating the real thing. You're just replicating it, and you're pointless. Get out of here. So artists are historically kind of thrown under the bus.
Yeah. So we are in a new
I'm
renaissance now.
positive. I'm very positive. Trust me.
Okay.
I
So
sound negative, but yeah.
so are you positive for you for like for artists in general, or like for your career that now has been more unlocked thanks to NFTs?
I am optimistic. I do think there's going to be a shift in the way that things are handled, and less autonomy will be given to artists and more will be kind of factioned off into different spheres of influence into the artist's career, dictating the NFT market. Um, I don't know. Artists are lucky to be able to create in general, so that in itself is a gift.
Are we going to see a world with more art? It seems like with more and more art in the next years, art will be more influential in the next years.
It depends how you're defining the arts. So that's actually what you started off with. Like, how do you define the arts? The arts are ubiquitous. They're everywhere, like in film to music to visual arts. It depends if you're defining the arts as the visual arts, possibly. Just the way that we consume information on the internet. The NFT thing is kind of just this buzzworthy story that is probably going to fizzle out a little bit, but it'll stay here. It'll stick around. It'll just upend the old art system, which is a huge statement. But but I'm saying like it won't have the media gravitas that it has right now with like people like Beeple and getting all this attention, and people are like, all right, enough. I don't care about Beeple.
Yeah,
It's like a beetle and then like a I don't know.
yeah,
Weird.
yeah. Yeah, I think that we need more, of course, more education in this. I think that are going to rise a lot of like, let's say, works or workshop or like partnership like between artists and non-artists. I think that it's a huge,
Collab
yeah,
Collaboration is crucial. Yeah, I've seen a lot of musicians contact me and artists I've contacted or contact me more in the past 3 months than in 20 years. And that's because of, I don't know if it's economically driven, like a kind of capitalist bloodthirst, but it's definitely positive to share ideas with other artists, musicians, whatnot. So yeah, there definitely is a good open space for this kind of thing.
Amazing. And like, so more musicians contacted you, like, to do what? Like, in which way are you going to collaborate with musicians?
That's not totally understandable to me yet, but I guess I make a piece and then they overlay music on top of the piece, so it kind of could be packaged and sold as an NFT. I don't want to talk dirty about NFTs because I think they're very positive, and I'm very pro. I'm very undecisive with how I feel about NFTs at the moment. It'll take me about a decade to figure this out. I think it'll take the world a decade to figure out what
Yeah.
NFTs are ultimately. I think people are kind of scrambling around trying to get a grasp on this, and which actually is why so much NFT art is meta or self-referential, because it's trying to understand what it is. It's trying to understand its ontological purpose. Like, what is NFT? What are we? You know. Um, there's another tangent I went on. I have
Yeah.
a problem doing that. I got to go back now. Okay, what were we talking about?
No, no, no. I love this. Please keep on, in the sense that you say, first of all, you say that you don't want to talk bad about NFTs, but
Yeah,
that's not really. I want to share the truth. So in the sense that if there is something that doesn't convince you about NFTs, please share with it, because we can build something educational anyway on top of that.
yeah,
So
definitely. There are avaricious people that want to take advantage of NFTs and kind of celebrities. There's going to be so many disciplines and fields that kind of exploit the NFT notion, especially with Ethereum reaching $4,000. I don't know what that means for
in
the
1 week,
market, but
in one
in
week.
1 week, that's insane. There's going to be a lot of different players with less pure minds that enter this system. I don't know
Like
if they're
always,
here
yeah.
to stay. Yeah, yeah, exactly. So like I don't know if they're it's short lived or if it's gonna kind of mutate into something that's resembles more of a natural kind of purity. Doubt it. I highly doubt it. But
Yeah,
that's, you know,
yeah,
where
yeah.
there's money, there's going to be leeches, and
As always, of course, but that's like a system that reproduces itself every time that there is like something new. But for me, because this always happens, and you can always like see the world from this perspective if you want, but I prefer to see it that, of course, this happens, but I'm glad if this happens, but at the same time it means, but at the same time, like, economy expands. So if there are new opportunities, new industries, there will be like always sharks in this industry. But
yes,
unless it is expand, unless it doesn't say the same, but this word expand its opportunities, I'm glad for it. So that's the
yeah,
important, because there are anyway more job opportunities, more industries opportunities for artists, and not just artists working in this world. And of course there will be bad people, but there will be a bunch of more good people anyway.
yeah, agree. Yeah, yeah. I'm more of an optimist. I come off very negatively in the way that I perceive capitalism and the way that paradigm shifts happen and new opportunities arise, new ways to earn money. But I, maybe I am a pessimist. I don't. I'll think about this later. Hold on.
If you
I don't
want,
know. Yeah, that's. Yeah, let me keep that to
if you
myself.
want, you can also think here with me, if you think that you are a pessimist, because I'll give you my truth. I was very pessimistic in my teenage years, and what I was telling you before about school, like, and also because at school, like in literature and history, we always studied like the negative part of history, or in any way it was like always surrounded from this negative perspective. We studied a lot of words, we studied a lot of, especially because we studied a lot of Italian artists, and they didn't have like a great life. There was, of course, impactful, famous, but they didn't have so much great life. So I became pessimistic as well. But and I
Yeah.
think that I am optimistic now because I was very pessimistic before. Otherwise, I wouldn't be like optimistic, and I wouldn't like neither fall in love with uh, technology and like understanding that everything that is new, it's important not to judge but to understand, and you need to educate yourself with it.
Yeah, definitely. There's a positive determinist kind of thing that happens. Things like technology, new technologies that bring people closer together, that enhance the quality of life that we didn't have access to hundreds of years ago. So I would say, as a whole, like, and this is a positive determinist mentality, but I think we are better off than we were, and a while
Yeah,
ago.
yeah.
As dark and gloomy and macabre as I sound, I'm actually underneath it all very optimistic.
Yeah. And
As I don't smile.
no, you're
Yeah,
smiling now.
yeah.
And
Now I am. Yeah,
and like, okay, and from at this point, like not from like an industry perspective, but maybe from more an aesthetic point of view, what do you think about digital art?
yeah. That's actually very interesting to me. I think aesthetics, given the NFT cultural environment, is probably going to see shifts that it has not didn't expect to see, because it's opening doors for digital art. Exactly. So aesthetics are going to shift. Like, the art history books are going to be dictated by this moment in time, and we're going to see like Jeff Koons to Beeple, and we're going to be like, what the hell happened? How did we go from Jeff Koons, who, like, honestly, like, my opinion is pretty less than good on, and Beeple, art critics have an extraordinarily difficult time on unpacking his work, because there's no criterion to critique his work because it hasn't been developed yet. Um, but where I was going with digital art, so people that use Adobe Photoshop or stuff like that kind of aesthetic will be more ubiquitous, and whereas in the past they may have felt the need to want to be a painter or draw, or so people will embrace this digital side of themselves more. It'll become more manifest, I believe.
Yeah,
It would be interesting.
yeah. And you said it's interesting, like to see it from 100 years from now, how they will study this period on books. Like, how is it possible that in 10 years we moved so fast, and we went from traditional art to digital art, like, and now there are already a lot of marketplace for digital arts.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, the digital art's always been created, but not in the way in which their voice could become so direct, and quite frankly, the demand is there in NFT world. People want digital art for some reason. I'm not sure what the drive. Like, I don't see why you can't make a painting and turn it into an NFT. Anything is game for an NFT. It doesn't have to be digital art, but for some reason, people construe NFT as digital, and that's not true. That's something that's just made up. That's like, the technology is inherently digital. That doesn't mean the aesthetic that goes into it needs to be digital. Does that make sense?
Yeah,
Kind of.
yeah, 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 yeah.
Okay. Okay.
This makes
I
sense, absolutely. Yeah, yeah, yeah. I think, yeah.
I confused myself. That's why.
um, I'm going to ask you like an incredible difficult question, and if you don't want to
Please
ask,
do.
if you don't want to ask, please go. Just tell me that you want to move to the other one. But imagine that you are
Okay.
studying, you are a child, and you are in 2150 maybe, so a
Yeah.
very a lot more in the future that from now, and you're studying this period, and what's the title in the book, so how this period is called?
It'll be Shock of the New Part Two. So it'll be Modernism Part Two. It's essentially going to be Cezanne flipped on his head, and kind of like we're trying to figure out what the hell is going on and how to decipher what's happening. Nobody, like old timers, people that are of the old art world and aesthetic, will have no concept of well, okay, so like it's difficult to accept change, and I think we're going through a severe period of change that's just difficult to grasp and to make sense of. And I don't like change. I really don't. I don't like to move. I don't like to switch bedrooms. I don't like to switch bathrooms. I don't like to switch ear pods or whatever. Like change sucks generally,
Okay, so
especially for the art
for
world.
you like change in fact I saw that like your style of art, it's like really quite the same, but it's anyway, it's they are very similar from them from one each other, your artworks, but I see also an evolution. So maybe you're saying that you don't like change, but maybe you don't like change
I'm a liar.
when change is fast. Maybe you like more change during longer periods of time. So for example, of course your career and you are changing, but you like to see from a long term perspective, like in 10 years, 20
I
years, because things are going too fast now. So you don't want to buy the last iPhone, you don't want to buy the last AirPods, as you say, just because they are going out one after each other. But you prefer
yeah
like in this long term.
yeah. Collectively, I think change is scary, but personally, I have become more prone to accept change faster. I don't know why that is, but so like I was lying, I guess. Like collectively, change is scary, but personally, I can tolerate it. Maybe it's my age because I'm a Gen Xer, so like I'm like on the fence of Gen X and millennial, and like I'm like shifting towards this internet way of life, and like the way we communicate, and the speed and pace of life is so fast that it's difficult to remember what happened 10
Yeah.
seconds ago. Like I have no idea what we talked about. Like
Neither me either.
completely forget.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah, I agree with you. Like I always thought about one thing after I read it, that it is like technology changes too fast, and like our brain, our physiology, our nature is not always so inclined to change so fast as technology changes. So it can like burns burn out. It can be dangerous also sometimes, maybe for our brain, because really it's it's physical. We need to stay always updated, but sometimes we need to isolate. And so this is why also I understand your point of view, because you come from a generation which everything was slower, and I think that now
Static,
we've
yeah.
got like more advancement in human history in the last 30 40 years that in all the years that there were before, because now we are about to go to Mars and we are moving
I
into the
know, yeah.
decentralized finance. So we are changing our economy, we are changing our art, as we are saying now, and we are changing a lot of other things, of course.
Decentralized finance, that's a whole thing in itself. You could have another podcast on just that topic. That's interesting. I don't have much to say on that. I'm not a specialist, but that is a tectonic shift that's probably inevitable unless the what is it, the FCC, no, the SEC, I don't know what's the global, dismantles it and says it's unethical, or it's, uh, like, I don't know what's ethical about banks printing money for free. I don't know where ethics resides
Yeah.
in that, but anyway.
Yeah. Anyway, like as we were saying at the beginning, yeah, we are going to move in a world without boss. So of course we're going to have a decentralized world, and finance is just uh, one of the like main topics that we see now. But it's interesting to see that we talk about DeFi, so decentralized finance, but we are not already talking about the decentralized world. It's interesting because this means that like my career choice, as we were saying before, is been right, because it means that finance gives like the starting point of a new world. So if finance
It does.
changes, if
I
finance
agree.
become decentralized, then all the world after finance become more decentralized. So it like it's
True.
set up
Yeah.
like it sets a new starting point here.
Yeah. No, I agree. So essentially, Marx is right. Like, we're living in a material dialectical environment where that money dictates everything from cultural norms to every other norm. Money rules,
Yeah,
economics rules.
yeah,
It's interesting.
absolutely,
That's
absolutely. If it's changing the way we see money, and all the world is changing around it, so it's changing, and this is why NFTs are here. They are changing the way we exchange money, the way we name money, and the currency we,
I
we are
know.
using. We have got for the first time like a currency that it's the same in all the world, that for the moment it's Ethereum, that it's the currency that we are using to buy NFTs.
Yeah, I'm gonna start using my Dogecoins to buy everything in the next, I don't know, tomorrow. I'm gonna start using Dogecoins.
It will be so funny now that Dogecoin are habilitating they've got the power of purchasing something. Yeah,
Yeah.
of course. Decentralized world, it's more free in a certain sense, and do you think that it will also help us to reduce inequality?
I was gonna say it's more democratic for sure. Yeah,
Yeah,
definitely. I agree.
and
I think that's the benefit of the ultimate benefit.
yeah. And how, in your opinion, like how will be like more, how and why will be like more equal this world?
Okay, that I'm cerebrally thinking about. I'm trying to understand. So, like, countries that experience inflation may be at an even level field. I'm trying to understand it. This is out of my discipline a little bit, but as far as I understand it, it becomes a more level playing field when currency becomes not based on gold or fiat, or it's I don't even know, honestly. I have to think about this more.
Yeah, I think
I
that you, because you mentioned gold, you opened me an idea in the sense that world, uh, for example, gold value is based on its scarcity, because gold is one of the most scarce material in the world. So this is why
Right.
this got value. And like also, let's think about diamonds, like why they are so extremely valuable, because they are
Yeah.
so scarce. So, but I think that we need to invert this. I think one of my mentors once in my life, as I remember now, that he said me, but why do we need to have a economy based on scarcity? And why don't we have like an economy based on the sun, on the light? We've got hell the sun. Sun is what give us life. So why also sun and
That's
nature?
interesting.
Yeah, why like it give us energy and life, not diamonds that we need to look for them like under.
Totally, yeah.
Yeah, so why we built this economy based on scarcity, and why we instead we cannot build an economy based on abundance?
Is it just greed? Then, like human nature's uh, proclivity towards being greedy and consuming more wealth than the next person? Is that, are we just that selfish of humankind? Or I don't know.
Yeah,
Maybe that
yeah,
sucks, but you know, well, that's life.
yeah, yeah. That's life. Yeah, yeah, and of course it's based also on a network power, on a network effort, on a social value, because if we all think that who has got more goods and like more scarce goods has got value, so this how the world works. But I think that NFTs in some way they can create a new way of abundance, especially now we're seeing a huge abundance in art and digital assets. I think that will be more affordable than
I agree.
a
Yeah,
traditional
it'll level out.
assets, so we can be one level, all the work can be one level up in terms of like richness.
That's interesting. That's very Hegelian, kind of moving society to the next step. Like we've created a synthesis where it's going to the next stage, which is actually a better step than we were before. So like we're moving in the right direction, I think. The old school thought thinks it's scary and bad. NFTs evil, people evil and racist, but like I don't see things that way. I see that as very knee jerk, kind of reactionary to larger issues that are tectonically shifting society and pushing it forward for the better,
Yeah,
personally.
yeah, I totally agree. Yeah, yeah, and I think that we had um, a standard increase for everyone in this world during COVID, because we started this digital new era in which also like my mother that wasn't so good with the computer started to learn how to use a computer, how to use YouTube and Google
She
and
started to Zoom.
she started with Zoom, of course, yeah.
Nice.
And what if we are all rich in the world? What if
I don't that that's utopian. That gets to a point where I don't know if it's possible because we're always going to want some. Okay, utopian by definition is an impossible phrase. It means no place in Latin. So like by definition, it's a impossible thing. But yeah, you got my mind all mangled right now because it's interesting actually what happens when there is a move towards a more equitable kind of place where people are their class disparity isn't as extreme as it is. I live in New York City where class disparity is sickening. It makes you want to like, vomit, you know, just by looking outside. It's so sad, but it's in your face. And there's not enough mental bandwidth to handle every homeless person on the street. And I I lost my train of thought. I don't know why that happens. But yeah, I slept. I got a full night's rest, and I don't know what happened. Okay,
so
sorry
so
about
so
that.
maybe you don't have to sleep, maybe.
Yeah,
maybe
yeah, you're
maybe
right, right.
okay, maybe we can do like, yeah, and the next podcast we are going to do it together. We are going to do when it will be like dark night there in New York. So maybe that I understand you in the sense that if you are like a night person, your brain works better during
Yeah, it
night.
works.
So yeah.
Yeah.
I totally agree. I was this way like few years ago. At the moment now, I prefer like to wake up at 6 7 a.m. and it's going well for the moment. But anyway, yes, if we become whole
Good.
rich one day, what will be the new
Yeah.
currency?
What does that mean?
What does it mean? That
Well,
we have got all like we don't need to. It means that we don't need to work anymore, to have a job anymore, to pay our bills and pay our everything, house, goods, and everything. We've got the money we need
yeah.
to do, let's say, to stay in vacation all our life. In the sense that just
Yeah.
to enjoy our life in the way we want. So at this point, what will what will be the currency if dollars and if money won't have a value anymore? And I think that the answer is creativity. The only
Oh,
currency.
what an awesome answer. That's great. That's the best asset resource thing that we can exchange. That's the most valuable asset that humankind owns is creativity. Yeah, that was beautiful. That's excellent. Love that.
and and that's unique from my creativity is different from yours. It's non-fungible, as we are saying. So if we be
Yes.
like not rich, if none of us, if we be whole rich, we will be in this world in which none of us is really non-fungible. And I think that we are now in this moment in 2021, we aren't fungible one from each other, but we don't perceive this. At least not all of us perceive this, and so we
Hmm.
struggle. But if we think about our uniqueness, if we develop our uniqueness and our creativity, we will move faster in this world. And of course, what's the way in which we can develop our creativity? Art.
That's great. Beautiful. That's you've spent many hours refining these ideas. I could tell they're very very clear. Very nice. I like that.
Yeah, I
So
I think that just now
I
it's
wasn't paid for this. I wasn't given money to say that. I was. Trust me. I just.
I think that this is this is what I'm learning from this podcast. Is that I'm learning a lot about art, and I don't consider at least I still don't consider myself an artist. I don't know because I really don't know what. Also, if we like said what art and artist means, I don't know. But I think that is
Yeah.
what I'm
It gets
learning from this.
abstract.
Yeah, it gets abstract. I don't know if what I'm said like it will be like the way to build a better sustainable world, but I think that is what NFTs and this podcast is teaching to me. Like I'm meeting different artists, different people from all over the world, and they all have got something in common, that is creativity. And
Yeah.
but it's totally they've got something in common that it's totally different one from another. They are doing amazing. They're living amazing lives. They are doing amazing jobs. They are enjoying everything they do. They quit their president job. They feel more free now. They are becoming successful people. Sorry, and what else in the sense? What else do you need if arts allows you that? If building your artistic career allows you that, so educate yourself with a bit of art, and this is how you're going to find your voice, and then you can transform that artistic inner power in what you want, and that will be the base of your career. Do you agree with that?
I agree with that entire pontification of what of the idealism of being an artist. Totally. I think it's awesome what you just said. really, like that is I'm trying to think if I could add to it. Our art saved me from so many different low points in my life. Just the mere act of creating something is so life changing and so poignant and powerful. Um, and then when you get to convey that, it's even better. So it's powerful force.
It is. It is really.
Yeah.
It's really, really really a power. I really feel myself empowered after I'm doing this podcast, or like I'm pursuing like artistic works that I'm going to show with this community soon. And
Yeah.
okay, I'd love to ask you more a last question about yourself and about your heart, because I tried to understand your heart, but
Uh-huh.
I try
Oh boy.
you
Yeah, go for it.
I tried to find a meaning, or at least I try to find like what does your artworks represent, and what's
Yeah.
the answer for you, like what's your heart about?
I think uh, I honestly would say that they probably, other than just drawing lines after lines, endlessly to the point of ad nauseum to the point of death. I am trying to create metaphorical spaces in which I could explain the alienation and anxiety that I feel as a human being living in this modern world. And I'm trying to metaphorically describe that in these empty spaces and how we maneuver in and out of that space. I think that's I'm going to go with that. It changes every day, so art's very protean. So, but I'm going to go with that definition of what
I
how I
like it.
feel.
I like it. I can add that there is a lot of dedication in what you do, because you draw line after line, and you do it, so not digital of course, and you do it with being canvas, so it's a lot of time spent there, like doing this sort of repetitive activity that
Yeah.
I'm sure that it will ease your mind, it will make you feel well, but also
I'm
not
insane. Yeah, I'm insane. I have a high tolerance for solitude, which helps, I think, me be able to do this. So I have an abnormally high tolerance for being alone.
but now
So
you're
talking to you is awesome.
yeah, but thank you. But now you're not
Yeah.
so alone anymore, because you've got a huge community. I saw your followers on Instagram, and you've got thousands of followers on Instagram. So, what do you think about that? In the sense that you wanted to create something for yourself, and just being alone, you enjoy being alone, but now you're not so alone anymore, because there are, I think, one much like I think about 100,000 of people that watch your work that you share every day with
Yeah.
you.
I would say 99% of them might be bots or like some kind of I don't know, digital specimen. 1% that I do connect with, I am grateful for. I love the people that follow me, and like I have a lot of like love for that. It's great. It really is to communicate with people and talk about art. Yeah.
And it's amazing that you also always stayed original to yourself and real to yourself, because also if like people, your followers like are growing, you never changed, how you were saying before, your style of art. You always made it for yourself.
Try to. Yeah, I try. I try to.
Is it what you want?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Of course. Yeah. 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 Of course. I'm immune to public affectation or like being persuaded to do a different thing because I am uh, 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 because I have a hard head and I don't know because I'm just cantankerous even though I'm pretty young. I just I don't know. I'm gonna think about that.
Yeah,
Something to
yeah.
think about.
Yeah, you have got a lot of things to think about this evening. I'm very happy that we are
I
sharing.
can't wait to watch it. Yeah.
Yeah. You've got a lot of things to ask to your night this night. Okay, and I think that we understand more about art and NFTs today together. So thank you, Tim, for coming here.
Thank you. Thank you. Take care.